Since today being a first session, I would like to take a few moments to give a quick intro about me. So I'm Satya, I'll be your trainer and I carry close to 15.5 years of experience. Currently, I work as a lead data scientist and BI consultant for a leading US-based retail company with a development facility in Bangalore. Okay. So during my stint with various engagements, I got an opportunity to work with a variety of industries, which includes retail, healthcare, banking, and so on. And also, I got an opportunity to participate in full life cycle of many business intelligence as well as data science projects. So, though I worked majority of the projects on data science, right? You know very well. I don't know if you are aware of this. So as part of data science, first step is we need to do the data cleaning, data pre-processing, and data analytics. Okay, that is the one we have to do it, and then only we proceed with the training the model and so on. Okay, and also I worked with the various ETL tools also in the past, SSIS and Informatica, and Talent. I don't know how many have heard about Talent. Talent, we did a small POC for banking, a leading banking and healthcare sector. Okay, when I worked with TCS, I did this. Okay. So that's pretty much about me. Let's go ahead and begin with the overview of SQL Server. What is SQL Server? And then we'll move on with installation and configuration of SSMS. What is SSMS? SQL Server Management Studio. It is a pretty nice graphical user interface using which you can write the SQL queries and data manipulations without doing heavy lifting. Okay. Next, we will take a look at the different data types that are available in SQL Server and the built-in that are available for each of these data types. So what is SQL Server? SQL Server is a relational database management system, RDBMS. There are few editions of SQL Server software available, Express and Developer. These are the free software, and the standard and enterprise are licensed one. It involves a licensing cost, and most of the enterprises in their production one, they prefer using the either the standard and enterprise. Enterprise edition is more scalable. But for learning purpose, we are going to work with the Express edition. Okay, I guess all of you have downloaded, installed it. Otherwise, don't worry. Probably tomorrow morning we will create our credentials for you all. You can log in with that credentials, and then you can watch my videos. That one will help you to install the SQL Server. Okay, and SSMS as well. Okay, SQL Server is a relational database management system. What do you mean by relational database management system? Why do we call it as a relational database management system? Before even we get in there, we will understand what is database management system is all about. What is a database management system? It is a program. It is a software program. It enables us to store the huge volume of the data and provide access to these data and manipulate the data and report and represent the data. So for that purpose, the database management system is used. There are two types of DBMS. The one is the relational, another one is non-relational. The database, right? The DBMS system allows the users to securely access the data in RDBMS system. See, you might be asking this question, why do I need to have the database management system? Can't I keep all the data in CSV files or Excel files in my laptop itself, or in the Windows folder itself? Can't I keep those data? You can keep it, but it is not secure, right? In the case of DBMS, it gives you the secure access data in your RDBMS system if you store the data. See, your operating system, on top of your operating system, if you keep the file, is not that safe. Still, you can argue with me. So I can hide that folder, everything, but still, technically, tech savvy can still hack that file, right? So on top of the operating system, if you have another software get installed, like software, the RDBMS softwares like SQL Server or Oracle or IBM DB2, or you name any DBMS system, when you install it on top of the operating system, and if you create the database on top of that, software, SQL Server software also, your data will, instead of sitting in your laptop or in your Microsoft folder, it will sit on top of the Microsoft operating system, which is nothing but your SQL Server. Okay, it's going to get housed inside the database. Hence, it is more secure. Okay, and okay, now we will see, okay, in the case of relational database, can someone tell me what are the examples for RDBMS, relational databases? So we know Oracle, and IBM's product is DB2, and we have something else. Yeah, this one, Microsoft is SQL Server, and MySQL was bought by Oracle, okay, and now MySQL is Oracle's product. It is open source. You can download it and install it. And what are other data? Likewise, a lot of other databases are available, relational databases. What about the non-relational database? There are four types of non-relational systems are there. One is the document data store. Document data store. Okay, and the other one is column-oriented database. This is very popular, column-oriented database. And we have something else called the key value store. If you have already worked in Hadoop system, you know what is key value store, right? So in Hadoop, most of the things are key value. We store the data in key store format, key value store format. Okay. And apart from this, we have something else, graph database. So what are the examples for document data store? You have something like XML, YAML, okay, and JSON. These are the things falls under your document data store. And column oriented, HBase, Cassandra, NoSQL databases are called your column oriented database. In the case of key value store, how many of you have used the MapReduce? Right, so MapReduce framework, in that case, in the case of MapReduce framework, we use the key value store only, okay? We store the key value store. And graph database is also used for different purpose, okay? And predominantly in the case of analytics, most of them they use a relational database. In the case of performing data analytics, most of them they use relational database. That doesn't mean nobody's using non-relational. Even in the case of Power BI, it converts your data, tabular data into column-oriented data behind the scene. Okay. Because of the performance reasons, they convert the tabular into columnar oriented database because the performance will be pretty faster since each columns are stored separately. See, in the case of typical RDBMS, we have a table. A table will have the combination of columns. Many columns you will have it. Okay. More, let's say you have reasonably 25 to 32 columns are there. Okay. Whereas in the case of no column-oriented database, each columns will be stored separately. Okay. So hence the performance will be faster, but again, there are some caveats. Okay. There are some flaws, right, with this also. Okay. There are some flip side associated with the column-oriented database, especially if you are using more number of columns as part of the data analytics. In that kind of situation, it can lead to some kind of CPU intensive thing. Okay. And whereas in the case of relational tabular data and all IO oriented, okay, if you select more number of data, it involves too much IO, but once the data gets loaded in memory, the performance will be faster. Okay. But in this case, since we store the values or the columns separately, the performance is better. Typically, if you take any analytics project, we don't use 100 columns in your report, right? So rarely we use it. Most of the analytical project MAS reports or so, if you see the number of columns, maximum, right, 10 to 15 columns we'll be using. In that case, better you can go for column-oriented database. But anyhow, you don't have to do it anything. Power BI behind the scene, it converts your tabular data into columnar data. Okay, now you understood what is database management, to store the data, okay, to store the data in a centralized location also, so that it will give additional layer of security, and also it will enable the users to access your database with different privileges, they can perform the respective operation. For example, specific users, they are supposed to view the data. That's all. They're not supposed to insert or delete. They're not supposed to do any CRUD operations. What is CRUD operations? Create, read, update, and delete. Okay. So most of the users will be given the read-only access. Okay, the read-only access, most of them. Okay, and there are developers, or there are some transactions requires update and delete records. Okay, create is something like creating the table objects. That is what they see. But even the create table, create index, create stored project, create stored function, the triggers, it is not the responsibility of the developer in the case of real-time scenario. It is the responsibility of the SQL Server DBA or Oracle DBA. They are the administrator. They have rights to create the table because they know how much storage they need to allocate for each object. Okay, so and for the reporting users, they require only the read-only operations, read-only thing privileges, and for other ETL purpose, you need the CRUD, update and delete, and that too on your staging area. Okay. So what is RDBMS? So far we discussed about database management system. In the case of database management system, we store the data in a container. You just think that all your department data, you store it in a container, so that it will be more secure. Like we keep food. See, we have a house, big house. You don't keep all the vegetables and the recipes. You don't keep it outside, right? You keep it in a different containers, so that whenever you want to access any specific recipe, it is accessible. You can easily go and locate, hey, I kept it this one, I kept it here, right? So similarly, when it comes to database management system, we store all the data into a database. Hence, you can access the data anytime in a secured manner. Next one is RDBMS. What is Relational Database Management System? Okay, the RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. Why it is called relational database? Because data is stored in tables that are linked together via relationship. You have a table called employee and you have a table called department. Supposing your manager wants you to print the employee name along with the department name and then the salary. Okay, basically he wants to understand the salary drawn by each employee by department. In this case, the employee name and salary is, these two columns are available here, whereas the department name is available in this table. Okay, the department name is available in this table. It comes from this table. Okay, in that case, if you wanted to retrieve the columns, or if you want to query the columns from more than one table, you need to establish a relationship between these two tables based on a common column. The common column between these two tables are depart number. So not necessarily the naming standard should be same. So some cases they may use, right? So department ID, something like that. Okay. But as a data architect or data modeler, you should be knowing which columns you need to link it. But just by taking a look at this data itself, we can make out quickly. So even if the column name is department ID, in the department it is 10 and 20, that the same values are appearing here. And the 10 is nothing, represents the department. 10 represents the accounts department, and 20 is nothing but your IT department. In this case, whether it's a department, since you have the domain knowledge, business knowledge, the department ID and department number, these two columns are same. In some cases, yes, most of the cases, we use the proper naming convention. Okay, depart number. In that case, it is pretty straightforward, identifying the columns that are common between the two tables. But there are cases they use different naming standard, right? So your depart number will be there, your depart ID will be there. Okay. But when you look at this data, and you know very well the depart ID is nothing but depart number, in that case, you create the relationship between these two columns, because these two columns are common between these two tables. if you wanted to query the data from or query the columns from more than one table, you need to create the relationship. Why? You need to join these two tables. Only when you join these two tables, you will be able to get the data from more than one table. In order to join the tables, more than one table, you need to first create the relationship between the tables. This is very much important. Power BI also, you know very well, right? Since you worked in Power BI, you know very well. The Power Pivot, that is where you define the data model, everything, design everything. Okay. So RDBMS, so in this case, the data is stored in different tables. But these two tables are linked together via the relationship, right? So in this case, the common column between these tables are depart number. Hence, we combine. We create a relationship between these two tables. It makes sense if you create the relationship, with these columns. Now you understood what is DBMS, what is RDBMS. Next one is SQL. Now we'll explore what exactly SQL. SQL is spelled as SQL. Some people they say no SQL, and some people they say SQL. SQL. Okay. Yes. Sorry. SQL. Okay. They say SQL, and the SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is a type of programming language called a query. Okay. It's a query programming language. Once you store the data using SQL, we can query the data, or we can describe the data, or we can manipulate the data, or we can retrieve the data in a relational databases using query. So SQL query, okay. SQL query is kind of a language, right? See, if you want to talk to each other, we use in common language, English, to talk to each other. Similarly, if the data gets stored in RDBMS system, if you wanted to interact with that data, you will be using a language called SQL, Structured Query Language, using which you query the data, or if you want to insert the data, or if you want to delete the data, or if you want to modify the data, everything is possible. Okay. So using SQL, we can communicate to the SQL server database or any RDBMS database. Let's say you sell a variety of products and you want to see which all products are shown in this database. So in that case, you use SQL star from products. So this query will get executed at this in the SQL server. It can have multiple databases. You need to understand this also. Database 1, database 2. You can create up to n number of databases. Okay, you can get n number of databases. Each database can have n number of tables or objects. Tables 1, table 2, table 3, and table n. Okay, up to n. So what do you mean by, so you might be asking this one. In that case, a database can contain only tables. It contains objects, tables, index, triggers, stored procedure, and any package, stored function, whatever you create, right? Indexes, views. Views are also called as views, materialized views, and all these things are called your objects. A database can have multiple objects, and similarly, SQL Server can have more than one database. You can create more than one database, and each database can have more than one objects. It's very simple, isn't it? In the case of Microsoft SQL Server, we use something called TSQL. TSQL, the T stands for Transact SQL. Transact SQL. It is an extension of the SQL language. If you look at majority of the RDBMS system, they use SQL language, SQL query. Okay, in Microsoft SQL Server, instead of we call it as SQL, we call it as TSQL, Transact SQL. It is an extension of your SQL languages. So this is, we use it primarily in the case of Microsoft SQL Server database and its software. Okay. And now you might be asking this question, is it because of the brand? Are they using different naming standard? Instead of SQL, are they saying TSQL? Apart from this, are there any any significance or any significant difference is there between these? Yes, there are some difference between SQL and TSQL. Okay, using the transact SQL statements, you can submit a group of one or more SQL queries as a single unit your SQL Server database engine to be executed together. It's kind of a batch. Okay, you can submit a batch. Okay, and in this case, what happened? For example, you want to select the data from table 1, and you select column 2 and column 8, and then you want to insert the data into some other table. Insert into table. Again, you use another select statement that is from another table. Okay, and all these statements should get executed at once, like a batch. Okay, we use something called go. At the end of each statement, we use go. Go is nothing, right? Batch. So what you can do is you can put go here. Okay, this one will be considered one batch. This one will be considered another batch. Okay, you have batch 1 and batch 2 is your batch 2. The batches, to separate the batches from each other, we use the go keyword. Okay, so in that case, what will happen? This one is considered of batch 1. This one will get considered. Let's say just before go, you have insert statement, update statement, 5 update statement, 5 insert statement is there. So these 10 statements will be executed at once as part of this batch. Okay, but the typical SQL queries in other RDBMS, it executes the queries one after the other. Okay, you cannot execute it as a batch. But again, for that, you need to use stored procedure and so on. Okay. In the case of batch, right, when a batch is executed, the SQL Server, what it does is it combines the SQL Server database engine. We call this an engine also, the SQL Server database engine. It compiles and executes the statements in a batch as a single unit. Everything will be considered single unit. This one will be considered single unit. Okay, something like in a marriage hall, the dining hall, right? You send in one go, you serve 100 people. 100 people you serve in one go. So this is one batch. It is another batch. Maybe it may be a stupid example, but but the analogy is same, right? So first batch people, when they go for a food, right, or 100 people, they will be served at a time, right? At a time, in the sense people will serve it, but at a time 100 people only can be accommodated. But here also same thing. Okay, but the same, somewhat similar to this, the principle. Okay, all the queries or the DML DDL statement will execute everything in each batch at once. Okay, in one go, instead of executing select statement once and then you execute this one. In that case, from your client, each and every SQL query will be sent to your SQL Server. See, what I'm talking about is SQL Server, which has been installed in your laptop on your local server. But in the real world, when you work for a project, they'll be using Azure SQL Server. I will show you Azure SQL Server later point in time because it involves licensing cost and all. If I start use my card, they will start take into account of the the cost now itself. Okay, I'll show you later point, but the idea is same. Okay, you query the data. Or you want to query the data, or you want to select the data, and then you want to pass the data to your subsequent statement. I want to execute it, or you want to combine multiple tables and you want to execute it, and you want to insert once the business tables get get updated. Next step is you want to insert the data into your audit tables. You can do it everything in one batch. I'll explain you what is audit tables later. Okay, you have some business table, you know very well. You have the fact table and you have the dimension tables. In the case of business intelligence. In the case of OLTP system, you have something called master table and transaction table. lookup table. Master table is called lookup table. When it comes to analytics, we call dimension table as a lookup table. Okay. But each and every time you insert the data from your source system into your staging area or so, you will insert the data into a, say, let's say you have a sales fact table. In the sales fact table, you insert data, and at the same time, there are set of audit tables will be there. Okay, and once the data get inserted, the post job completion, the audit table will also get inserted. Why? Because what time the job ran and how much time it took to run, whether the job succeeded or not, all the status you want to track it. For that, they will keep separate audit tables. Anyhow, I will explain you as for triggers also. With that, I will demonstrate you. You will be able to understand. So the batch by batch, it gets executed. Okay. What are the advantages of this one? The advantage is simple. It allows the multiple queries to be executed together, which will be more efficient instead of executing each SQL queries individually. Okay. Even the batches can also be can also be used to group related statements together. Okay. And that makes it easier to manage and troubleshoot complex SQL code. In the case of very complex business logic, you can so you can group the batches also. That and all we'll see it later. Don't worry. Okay. Now we understood the difference between SQL and TSQL. It is also called a procedural language. Which one? Language. The transact SQL, TSQL is also called as a procedural language. With that, you can submit multiple statements, get executed at once, right? So using the Go command. Okay. Next one is how to install the SQL server in the SQL SSMS. And it's pretty simple. And I guess all of you might have installed already this one. You might have started working on this one also. But anyhow, I have some rookies are there, freshers, okay, and they don't know first of all, they are non-ADP people, okay. So SQL Server, how you can, simply go to Google and type download Microsoft SQL Server, okay, and I just quickly show you. But anyhow, you can watch my video also. In the interest of time, I'm going to just simply, I will just type and show you. The installation, you can watch my video. I will help you out offline, okay? Download SQL Server. SQL Server for Windows. And then the first searched item, okay? The search list. In the first search list, it'll, you will find that link. If you click on this, it will take you here, okay? And the downloadable page, SQL Server download page. In this page, you just scroll down. Ignore other things. If you scroll down, you can see the pre-editions, the developer edition, expert edition. Better you can go for express edition. I would suggest click on the download now button just beneath the express edition. Okay. So I meant about this one, okay, and I meant about this one and the express edition. Make sure that you are downloading it and downloading this one, not other one, okay. Next, hit the download now button and wait for a few seconds. It will take just a second to download the exe file. Just double click on the exe file. When you hit the run button, it will it will prompt you to either select yes or no. I'm going to select yes because I want to install it. So in my case, I already installed it, but for you people to know how to install it, I'm just starting it from the scratch. Okay. Look here, the moment when I double clicked on this one, it launched this installation window. SQL Server 2022 Express Edition, selection installation type, basic, custom or download media. You can select basic. Okay. When you select basic, you can see, the license terms, and you just scroll down a little bit, and that's it. It's not required, but hit the accept button. That's it. You're all set. It shows now the installation folder. See program files, Microsoft SQL Server, and hit the install. That's it. You're all set. When you hit the install button, it will take for a while. It will go and download it from the internet, all the necessary packages, everything, and then it will install it. To install the SQL Server, you need to have the internet connection. Okay. But you will find the progression bar. Okay, you will see 0%, 10%, 100%, the progression bar. After a while, you will find installation was successful. Until you find the message installation was successful, you need to wait. Once it displays the installation was successful, then you can click on close, or you can click on the cross here. Okay. In my case, already installed it. Hence, I'm going to click on close. Okay. In your case, for example, see, I can hit install, but I cannot cancel it. Okay. In between. That is the problem. Otherwise, I would have shown. Look here, if you do this one, look here, it will go something. I will give it a try. Okay, it is working fine. Okay. You will find the progression bar like this. Okay. It will take some time. And it download all the installation packages, and then it will install one after the other. Okay. In my case, it has been done already. Hence, I'm going to click on the cross. It will get closed. In your case, you need to wait until you find the message download was successful. Okay. Since I already installed it, I'm going to close it because I need to create all the database tables once again. It will take longer time. That's the reason why I closed it. Yes, we are done with this. What is the next step? The next step is install the SSMS. Google.com. Download SQL's, not the SSMS for Windows. So you can see the on top of this searched items, right? The first link, download SSMS. You need to click on the first one, the first link. It will again take you to the SQL Server. Yeah, SSMS downloadable site. And if you scroll down in this page, you will find free download for SQL Management Studio. Okay. Just hit this link. It will take a few moments to download this one. Look here, the download has been initialized. Even this file size was smaller. Hope all of you must have downloaded the SQL Server already, right? If you have not done, please do it along with me. Anyhow, I will share the link for you all. Okay, tomorrow morning, or by tomorrow by noon, your login credentials will be ready. We will share it. You can go and watch the videos and download and watch the videos and install it. Okay. In case you face any hiccups, you just get back to me. We'll help you out. Okay. During the lunchtime, I'll be free between 12:30 to 3. Now the download is in progress. In the interest of time, what I will do is I'll just use my PowerPoint and show you what is going. So you need to hit the basic button here, and then it will start, download the packages. Once that has been done, it will start do the installation. Okay. Once the installation has been done, okay, you will find something like this. Installation has completed successfully, and it'll give you the SQL server name. This is what your server name, localhost /SQL Express, and then the database is master. This is the system database created by the SQL server install software. Okay, while installing it, it automatically does this one. Okay, we don't have to do it manually. Yeah, so you will see something like this. Okay, that means it has been done. The installation has been done. You need to click on the close. Okay, and then next you need to install the SSMS. Here the download has been initialized. Look here, still going on. Now it has been done. When you double click on this SSMS, it will launch the installation window. So you might be wondering, what is SSMS and what is SQL Server? To learn SQL Server, do I need to install SSMS also? Yes. Look here, it is security warning. So you want to run this file, run, hit the run button. It will launch the SSMS installation window. I think it will ask for our consent once again. No, look here. Okay. And click on the install button. That's it. Okay. And again, okay. You will ask your consent. No, I just say no, because in my case, I already installed it. Install the SQL Server Management Studio. Even the SQL Server Management Studio also in the installation is pretty simple. Look here, the SQL Server Management Studio. This is your SQL on the left side. Use your SQL Server. This is your SQL Server Management Studio. So once the installation has been done, it will show the setup completed. That's it. Once you see this message, click the close. Both your softwares are ready to use. Okay. Next, how do I launch the SQL Server? You don't have to launch the SQL Server. Okay, you need to launch the SSMS. Type SSMS in your start button. You'll find the Microsoft SQL Management Studio 18 here. You just click on this once. Okay, and then wait for some time because it will take a few minutes to launch this one. Initially, it will be slow, but when you launch it second time, it will not take much time. But don't launch the SQL Server more than once. It will consume more memory. It'll literally slow down your system. Okay. Still, it is going on. It takes some time to launch. Okay, it has been launched. You need to have patience. But if you think nothing is happening, you don't see the loading or icon, don't think it is not launching. You need to wait. So now you can see a dialog box, right? So as you can see here, the server name, this is what your server name, localhost, in this case, this is what your server name. It was pre-filled with the server name. You don't have to fill the server name manually. It has been filled by the SQL server, so we don't have to do it manually. We don't have to do it manually, okay? The SQL server name is nothing but the combination of your server name and then the instance name, okay? The authentication, what is the authentication here? The authentication, the next one is the auth in the window. You can see, I don't know why it launched so many times. I think I pressed it many times. You can find the authentication here. The authentication, leave it as it is. Don't do anything here. Okay, this is your, upon launching this SQL Server Management Studio, this dialog box will get filled up with all the values, the server name, the server type, or you don't do anything, simply hit connect. It should get connected. If it is throwing an error, you just get back to me, I'll help you out. But make sure that you're not installing multiple versions of SQL Server. Okay, SQL Server. If you have already installed any SQL, probably the best thing is you can uninstall it. Or if you've already installed, everything is working fine, you can use that. Okay, you don't have to install it again. Okay, if you are a first time user and somebody has already installed some software in your thing, let's say you bought a laptop borrowed from your friend, he has already installed, but again when you try to install, it causes some confusion. Make sure that before you install the SQL Server, whether it has already been installed in the system or not. Okay, that's it. We got connected to the SQL Server. Next, if you see here the databases, right, you can see various things here. The replication, security, things are there. When you click next to the database, the plus sign, it will get expanded. And here, so in my case, these are the databases I already created. In your case, you will find only the system database and database snapshots. Okay. When you expand this system database, you will find 4 databases. These 4 databases were created during the installation, SQL Server installation. We don't have to create these system databases. And also, don't ever create your tables, okay, your development tables, project tables in this 4 databases. At any cost, don't do that mistake. So it's meant for the system databases. Okay, the system, right? And don't create anything, your personal tables or any or the project specific table. Don't disturb these databases. It's something like our organs, right? Our organs are already working fine. Let's not mess up that with embedding on top of some organs, right? Don't do anything. Let it be something like that. Okay. Okay, we understood how to install the softwares, the SQL Server as well as the SQL Server Management Studio. Using SQL Server Management Studio, you can create the tables, you can execute the DDL statements, you can execute the DML statements, you can perform data control, you can use data control languages also, DCL also. We will see all these things step by step, don't worry. Okay, and the next step is we need to create a database here. Okay, how do I create a database? Just keep the cursor on top of your databases, right click on it, hit the new database. The advantage of SQL Server Management Studio is very developer friendly. Okay, and here you just give whatever the name of the database you want to create it. For example, I want to create a finance database. Okay. Finance database. The database name, you need to specify it here. That's it. The next step is simply hit the OK button. That's it. You might be asking this question, do I have to create the database in the real world? Even in the dev environment, you are not allowed to create any databases. It is the responsibility of the database administrator. But in your system, you need to practice it, isn't it? In that case, you should know how to create a database. That is the reason why I create a database. Pretty simple. Next to that database, when you click on the plus icon, you can see all the objects. You will find the database diagrams and tables, views, external resources, and synonyms. Okay, synonyms is kind of an alias. Okay, and programmability, and queues, query store, service broker, storage, everything. Okay, security. A lot of things you can find it under the newly created databases. Okay, you did not create these things. All we did was just create the database. That's it. Right inside the database, behind the scene, the SQL Server creates all these things. The objects and other things. Okay. Next, what we will do is yeah, the reason why we are is pretty, developer friendly. You don't have to be familiar with all these syntax related to the SQL queries or any the DML statements, or if you want to create a table, you don't have to remember the syntax. Just click on just point and click. You can get it done. The basic SQL related stuff, like you can query a table, And you can, for example, I just show you here, when you go here, I just expand retail analytics. Here I have created 2 tables already. And here the file tables. No, I think it is there here, the tables. Just look here in the demo database, under tables folder, you will find the 2 tables here, okay? Keep the cursor over here, right click on it. You have a lot of options here. Script table as, look here, you want to create 2. If you click on this, it will show you, it will generate the script for you. What script? It will generate the create table script. Though it is not our responsibility to create the tables, but still you should be knowing it, because the table creation is not done by you, but still as a development team, you need to create the script and give it to the database administrator. There are some cases we need to look here. Did I write any code for this? Nothing, right? So with this, you can understand the syntax also. Look here on primary, create table name. This is your schema name, okay? Database owner dot the table name, column name, and data type, and width of the thing, and whether it's a nullable or non-null, okay? And okay, these all things got generated automatically. So initially what I did, use DemoDB. Open this, select this database. You have multiple databases, okay? For example, I have DemoDB, retail. Like in the real world scenario, when you work with any projects, a lot of database will be there. Which database you want to select it? First select it. Okay, first select the database. Inside the database, in this database, you create the table. That is how you need to create the table. Okay. First, you need to make sure that you are selecting the database. You need to tell the SQL server in which database this table needs to be created. You need to tell it explicitly. Okay. So now what do you understand from this? For example, if I right click on it, and if I click on this and select top 1000 rows, the select statement is ready. It listed out all the columns automatically. I did not type it. If you have 25 or 100 columns are there in a table, it automatically generates the script. You don't have to type each and every column. Just point and click. You can get your job done for the basic, stuffs. For this, you don't have to be familiar with the syntax, everything. With this itself, we can learn the syntax. Hence, it is developer friendly. Even creating the table also, that is, pretty much simple here. And you keep the cursor over here on top of the tables, right click on a new, click on this one. You can get this one, we will see it a little later. Okay. Table. This is how you can create the table. Okay. And okay, the next one is any of we will work in depth when it comes to the hands-on part. Okay. And tomorrow's session will continue more on the hands-on part. Okay. Next, we will proceed with understanding different data types that are available in SQL Server. First of all, what is a data type? What is a data type? Data type is nothing but the type of data a variable can store. Can you say like that? Yes. You can use your own definition also. It is nothing but the type of data that a variable can store. For example, I have a variable called quantity. So what value can I store it in a quantity variable? Numeric or text? Quantity. Quantity is a numeric, isn't it? Quantity is a numeric data type. This is my variable name. Is this a numeric or text or date data type? No, it is not text. It is not a date. Quantity is supposed to have the numeric data type. Okay, numeric is fine. It is a whole number or a decimal number? It is a whole number. Okay, it is a whole number. It is an integer data type. Integer data type. Okay, and I have another variable called salary. Salary is a numeric variable, but it is a decimal number. Hence, we need to use the decimal data type. Instead of integer, decimal data type, we need to use it. How do you define decimal data type? So for that, you need to specify decimal. Inside the parentheses, you need to specify the digits, right? How many digits and how many decimals? 8, 2. For example, 8, the first value 8 tells us I can enter only the 8-digit numbers. The 2 here it says of these 8 digits, 2 digits are reserved to hold the decimal values. For example, you have something called 85 or 1856778 0 0 2 2 4 6 8 so forget about this one. Okay, 2 4 6 8. Okay, of these 8 digits, the last 2 digits are reserved to hold the decimal values. If you have, for example, 8888, okay, of these 8 digits, 2 digits are reserved for decimal. Or if you want to have a 10, yeah, the total digits are 10 digits are allowed. Out of the 10 digits, 2 decimal place will be used. Okay. When it comes to SQL Server, lot of data types are there. Like other programming languages, here also the numeric, string, date and time, binary, and other types are available. Okay, numeric data type, the text data type, date time, very well. Binary also, very well. Mr. We have some other data types are also there. We will see it. And in the case of numeric data type itself, you can see, they've categorized it as an integer and decimal. The quantity is an example for integer. Most of the cases, the quantity will be the whole number. For example, in the case of sales amount, it is a decimal number. But within this integer itself, we have 5 different data types are there. Okay, and within the decimal, you have 4 different types are there. Big int, small int, tiny int. Okay, so likewise, different types of integers. So even within this integer category, lot of integer data types are available. So it depends on your need or requirement. You can choose the appropriate data types to store the data in an optimal way. Okay. For example, you have a column called children. A table which captures the demographic details, the family members' income and age, marital status, and children. The children column will have, how many number of children each family or household have. Okay. So in that case, if you use the tiny integer, that is more than sufficient. Right. So see, nowadays, no one can have more than 255 children, isn't it? More than 255 children, even the worst case, right? Okay, you don't have to store too many, digits in it. In that kind of situation, better you can use tiny int. Now the question is, why can't I use int or, right? So if you use tiny int, it will consume less storage. Otherwise, what will happen is maximum 255. If you use some other data type, for example, decimal or something like that, right? Or the integer and all, it can earmark more spaces in the memory. Let's say a family has only 2, in some families 0 kids. In that case, unnecessarily, you are allocating more space in the storage, okay, memory and the hard disk. But see, tiny int is enough in this case, right? However, the tiny int cannot be used for storing the stories of a building. Okay, at least how many stories are there in a building? First floor, second floor, third floor, right? So it can have more than 255 stories also. There are some buildings, right? Skyscrapers more than 255. In that kind of situation, you cannot use tiny int. In that case, you need to use some other data type. Okay. And these are the data types and the range, right? The limitations, what is the range that I can store it? So you can store the negative values up to this digit and positive values you can store up to this. In the case of integer data type, in the case of bit 0 or 1, bit is 0 or 1. Okay. And the next one is the decimal. The decimal values ranges between these two things. Caret 10 to the power 38, 10 raised to the power 38 plus 1. Okay, negative 10 raised to the power 38 plus 1. That much values you can store it. And then date time, Jan 1, 1753 to December 31. Up to this you can store. Okay, just prior to this you cannot store any data. Just post this you cannot store any data. Okay, and string is char data type. Okay, char or char. Different people use different thing. And the maximum length is 8,000 characters. In the case of varchar, it is here also it is same, but whereas it is fixed length any code character. As the name suggests, varchar. In the case of char, let's you are specifying a first name. A person first name is char of 25. Even if the person name is just 2 letter, it will allocate 25 things here. Okay, 25 bit here. Okay, unnecessarily. Okay, but when it comes to varchar, even if you specify 25 for the first name, if the person name is just Om Prakash, just Om. Okay, in that case, it will just consume only 2 letters. Sorry, it will consume only 2 things here, 2 bits or something like that. Okay, it will not pre-allocate something like this. Whether a person name is very small or lengthy one, irrespective of the length of the name, whether small or long, it pre-allocate 25. Whereas in the case of varchar 25, it is little bit, it is, it is brilliant, it is smart. It checks, whether this guy's name is just 2 letter. Okay, then allocate only two here. Okay, if the person name is 10, then allocate only 10. Don't allocate for all the name 25 here. That is the whole idea of varchar, variable character. Okay, and the binary maximum length is 8,000 bytes. These are the built-in functions that are available in SQL server. Okay, and absolute and round, ceiling, floor, count, mean. These are the functions that are available. Okay, the round function, you can use it to specify the type of rounding that needs to be done. Okay, it can take two possibilities, 0 or 1. Okay, then we will take a look at that little later. And next, what we will do is we will start with looking at the other function, absolute or something like that. Okay, I just go to the SQL SSMS quickly, and here absolute minus 23. Okay, and that's it. If I do like this, 23, I can give some alias here as value. This is an alias. Look here. Since I mentioned select followed by that ABS function. ABS is an absolute. Okay, inside this negative. Even if you have any negative value, the ABS function, it will convert the numeric value. Sorry, the positive value. Okay, absolute. That is what the role of absolute. Got it. And in this case, I've used the as is an alias, because if you don't specify as on it will not display any column name. In that case, you will get confused, right? If somebody sees this one, what is this 23 is all about? So it is a value or something like that, or age. You can give age or something like that. Okay, you click on execute here. Value. Anyhow, in tomorrow's session, we'll explain you how to navigate these SSMS, everything in detail. And also we'll continue with the other built-in functions. Importantly, we'll look at the round function and all the popular built-in functions. We'll take a look at it. Okay, and the text related and date related, everything we'll take a look at it in tomorrow's session. Okay, Jens, yes, Sangeeta and Jamal, it is already late for you. Okay, fine. So I'm going to wrap up the session now. Tomorrow, same time, we'll circle back. The meeting invite, everything will remain till the end of this training program. Okay. Initially, we'll start in a slow pace, and we will see if required, we will we'll step up the pace. Probably we'll increase it to 1.5 hours or so. Okay. Don't worry. Yes, we need to complete it in short. Yes, Jamal, I understood. And at the same time, I want to make sure that all of you are able to pick up. Okay. It's something like slow, steady when there is, but in our case, slow, and we will, little bit will increase the speed and then we will proceed. Okay. So that we need to complete it on time for the benefit of all of you. Any questions so far? I know it is a very basic thing. You people might have used it. Don't worry. We will take a look at the advanced, very complex part, performance tuning, everything. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, since you don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session. I'm going to stop the recording and we'll share the recorded videos sometime tomorrow by noon. Okay. You will receive the login credentials. And then tomorrow's session, also night session, will explain how to access my website and how to access the live session recorded videos, including the script and data set, everything. Okay. All right. Thanks.